Hello and welcome to the Indo GAA Pod, where we'll be doing a review of the hurling season, and just in line with the small ball finishing up last Sunday, we'll talk a little bit about that Camogie final, Mull. And I know you're heavily involved in Camogie down in Waterford and in Delasall. What a game. I was covering it. The hitting involved, the physicality involved, the drama, Cork looking like they were after crawling their way back into the game, getting a draw, potentially maybe getting a winner, and then Galway went down the far end and got a winner. Just what a game, what a way to finish what's been a fairly controversial Camogie season with all the score debate. But on the field, the action was absolutely outstanding last Sunday.
Unbelievable, as you just touched on. Look, I'd be well in tune with the Camogie landscape, and for me, Verney, there's been a new bar has been set in Camogie by this Galway team. And there's a new bar after being set, more so not on what they do on the scoreboard. It's more so that they're following on from the successful teams, the likes of the Limericks, the Tipperaries this year, the Kerrys, the Dublin 6-0 team. What you do out of possession, and what Galway brought to the table last week out of possession was just phenomenal. They scored 110 from turnovers. And one girl who epitomised Galway's performance, and she probably sacrificed her own game for Galway to win, and she had an unbelievable game, was Niamh Mallon. She scored 1 point. Now,
Mull, she's an inside forward by trade, has always been an inside forward.
She's an inside forward, and anyone breaking down this match, and this is the new thing going forward, and particularly for any managers that have any aspirations for their teams to push on and win in All-Ireland. I'm thinking, Waterford, Tipperary. I'm sure Tommy Shefflin there will be looking on and saying, wow, that was unbelievable out of possession. And she's an unbelievable player. And if you were to pick up the paper on the following day and say, right, geez, Niamh Mallon only got a point, right? You say, oh, geez, Niamh Mallon wasn't in the match much. But Niamh Mallon was unbelievable out of possession. Out of possession, chasing, hooking, blocking, getting turnovers, being a nuisance, setting up scores, winning frees. She was unbelievable. And this is the new bar for Camogie. And for any of our Camogie people looking on now and are asking the question, is Camogie on the pathway to getting up there with the men's game? I think this game has proven that it's getting there. It's getting there. And going forward for the next couple of years, if I was to take over the Waterford senior Camogie team in the morning.
Breaking news, lads. Breaking news.
I would be saying, right, I will be looking for a Niamh Mallon type of player, right? I wouldn't be interested in a girl that might get 2 or 3 points and she doesn't work her socks off out of possession, all right? I would be saying, right, what I want is a Niamh Mallon type of player. Well, she might only get a point, but she is working her socks off out of possession. And even from my own club, the reason why I think so highly of Beck Carton, and the reason why I think Beck Carton is the best Camogie player in Ireland, it's not alone Beck Carton is the complete player. She'll do it on the scoreboard, she'll win frees, she'll set up scores, but out of possession, she's unbelievable. And what Galway brought to the table last Sunday out of possession was just phenomenal. You even look at Aoife Dunno. I mean, I think she's well into her 30s. I actually remind you, Ed, of year performance in 2006 against Cork. Cork going for 3 in a row, and what she brought to the table that day. Sorry,
and sure, look, we can talk about it till the cows come home, but that's the reality, and I see it even with any team you're looking at or any team you're involved in. It's the first thing you're going, right, have these guys a work ethic, have these guys a work rate, and that's the ugly stuff that nobody really wants to look at. And I often talked about this, and we chatted. I remember hearing from fairly good like that. This is why Graham Mulcahy was so invaluable to the Limerick team from kind of 21, 22, 23, you were kind of going, Jesus, this lad is not scoring. He's not getting all-stars. You know, the higher profile fellas in the squad. And I remember just curious about when I said, apparently the metrics that they were looking at, he was off the charts with the space he was able to create for Galan and co. He was able to bring a defender with him and open up space. And then it was the little bit of spoiling that he done. And it's a hard sell to modern players, John, isn't it? Like if you turn around, you say to a fella that is going well with his club, he's able to score, and he's 6'2", maybe around the half forward line, you're saying, yeah, well, I just need you to adapt your game now a small bit.
Well, but look, I'm involved with the DLSL senior Camogie team, and the way we're selling it this year, if you might put a point or two on the board, but if you don't work out a possession and you don't do that dirty work, trying to get turnovers and work your socks off, you won't be in the team. You're no good to me. You're no good to me. And I think that is the foundation going forward. And that's why I firmly believe Galway have now set a completely, totally different bar going forward in the Camogie landscape.
But I just think just to flesh that out a tiny bit more, right? People are probably sometimes looking in and when they see this stuff, it's not the most glamorous stuff. But I think the point of this is that everybody can't have the ball at once, right? Only one player can have the ball. So it's what we're doing our possession. But I think if you do this, then hurling takes over. Once you're kind of taking the ball off the opposition, it's not a case of we're telling people, you're not coaching hurling out of people. You're not stopping them from being creative and being good players. That's the point here. It's not that. It's far from it. It's just that once you don't have the ball, your brain is engaged going, what can I do to help the team here? And that's all it is.
You're earning the right to play, Eddie, aren't you? You're earning the right you're earning the right to play.
That's it. You're earning the right to play. And if you're looking around and you're looking at your crew of players you have in front of you and you're looking at the numbers, and don't get me wrong, stats aren't everything, but stats do tell a serious story. So if you're looking at it and saying, well, what does this allow us to do? It means we have the ball, and it means then our hurling gets to take off from there. The work rate, and then you're like that grenade effect. You just blow out, you explode into action, and off you go and hurl once you have the ball.
But you know from being involved with teams as well. Like for women, all right, for the ladies' game, like for every one of those players to buy into what Cathal Murray wanted the weekend. And you know, lads, all it takes is one or two not to buy into what he wants. And the thing the thing just breaks down. And you even seen what was very, very, very interesting, even looking on the body language of the Galway players coming off, right? It was kind of a case like, yeah, there was no huffing or puffing. There was no. The body language was spot on. It was like, yeah, I'm after doing my job for the team. Next Geraldine, go and follow the same template of hard work. There was no one going off with a face on him, and it was the next Geraldine to do the same amount of work. And lads, it's been a phenomenal achievement to think that they're after winning this All Ireland without Niamh Kilkenny and without the Sarsfields players, without the McGrath sisters. I mean, it's. I would rate it as probably their greatest All Ireland win. It's their fifth one. It's his third one in 7 years, and I'd say he was one happy man going back down the road to Galway on Monday with the Duffy Cup, you know.
Well, he was a happy man in the press conference after. Anyway, he got a few things off his chest, which I'll get to in 1 second. But just on Niamh Mallon, she must have created a bit of history on Sunday as well, because she captained Down to win the junior in 2014. She won the intermediate with Down in 2020, and then won the senior last Sunday. I can't find anybody that has the three of them. That's an unbelievable achievement. A couple of women from your own county, John, would have been close if Waterford had won the All-Ireland a couple of years ago. But to go the whole way through the ranks, and only in her second year with Galway, and she's added such a huge amount to Galway. And just even as well, she was a real disruptor the other day. After Hannah Looney got sent off, the Cork defenders were regrouping 4 or 5 of them, trying to have a quick chat, and she was just in the middle of them, kind of bouncing around in the middle of them, just and like annoying them, and it was relentless. That was kind of symbolic of what was going on all over the field. They kind of realised that Galway kind of build up a head of steam at the back. They get 2 or 3 passes and all of a sudden it's in motion, and they just stop the motion at the 45 or the 65, and it was incredible to watch. It would have probably been a travesty if they hadn't won, but amazingly, like, despite having an extra player for, you know, a full half, they lost. They said they lost that period 1-6 to 5 points, and it was only, you know, a real nerveless free from Carrie Dolan that saw them win. But on Cathal Murray, Eddie, this is the year of being written off. Everybody loves to be written off, but this is the year. Tip were written off, Kerry were written off and told, like, you know, just be part of your misery at this stage. Galway, like, Murray took umbrage to everything that was written and said. Like, that's not the winning and losing of it. But Jesus, if a ball needs to be won, it's no harm having that in the back of your head and having that extra push.
Yeah, well, I just, from my own experiences, I find that you have to be growly. That's the game. You have to be growly. Like, I mean, I don't care what anyone says. There's an odd time you can play a passive match. You can kind of go, oh, this is grand, and it's nice and free-flowing hurling and almost exhibition stuff, if you like. But I think anything that if you're playing inter-county hurling at any level, if you're playing adults hurling at any decent level, I think if you're going to win something, you have to have a bit of a growl about you. You have to be driven. You have to be motivated, because it's very rare you get these guys that are kind of, you know, that can be passive and smiley. I think, and it ties into maybe the group ethic as well. Like, you look at some of the teams that you'd be inquiring about, like, and I've looked at some of the, like, you look at the South Africans rugby team and what their game is built on is just, they're reckless with their bodies, and they'll go, you know. But it's the mindset, Mick, I think, is what you're getting at there. And it's that mindset that, you know, if you're going to try instill a kind of a certain mindset in your group, then you do whatever it takes. I think it can't be hollow. It can't be all rah-rah and banging off the table and pinning stuff up on the walls. I'm not sure about going that far with something. But by God, you can definitely have that kind of, we are being disrespected here or whatever, and you can kind of build on that without getting it to the point that you suddenly lose control of yourself. Do you know what I mean? That you're focusing on stupid stuff. You're going out in the match, and next thing you have the linesman waving the flag, and you're going, oh, I'm in trouble here. It's not to that point, because that's stupidity. But it's just finding the sweet spot of, and like I said there, I just, from my own experiences, there had to be an edge on you on the pitch. You had to be willing to go in and get hurt. You had to be willing to go in and, you know, leave a shot into somebody. Or that's just, to me, that's intent. And it's, again, to define it, it's not stupidity either. Like, and we've all gone over the boil at times. It's just part of it. And I will say, just even on that, like, and I know maybe we're coming to that in a second, I don't know about the red card. I really don't know.
Really?
Yeah, she reacted and she kind of threw the hand up. But I think I'd be very much, I can see both sides of it, but I'm not sure there was that much connection that.
Did she get sucked in? I thought she got sucked in.
The Galway one sold it by giving her the prod in the back, and she bought it then by retaliating. Like, so you can say she got stitched up nicely, but like, as you know, Mull, you can't react. Like, you have to, there's some way of doing it. Like, she could turn around and push her there without it being up towards the head. I don't think there was any head contact, but in a millisecond, when people are looking on, they just see hands and then you see her on the ground. So there is an element of guesswork, but you just, when the hands are high like that, you'd be often saying, there's ways to react, there's ways to deal with that. And that ideally wasn't it. I'm sure, you know, Hannah Looney is probably sick over this, like, too, because, you know, nobody wants to do that. And you hate seeing people walk in the big day like that.
Once the hands go up there, Mull, it's very, like, you're really making the referee make a decision, though, aren't you?
Yeah, well, look, the Camogie rules are funny rules, like, you know, because you could persistently foul a girl. I even see the club level go man to Beck Karen. Beck Karen could get pulled, dragged 7 times, cynical fouled 7 times, and the girl would still stay on the pitch. She might be lucky to get a yellow card, but in this case, once you lead with the hand, 9 times out of 10, you're going to walk. To be fair to Justin Efron, I thought, probably the Amy Lee one where she got the push in the back, and I think, look, when Justin looks back and reflects on it, he probably said to himself, right, I got that one wrong. But I thought in general...
That was bad, Mull. That was bad. But someone has to come in there to him and say, the umpires have to throw the hand up or something. Like, they have to. I think that was actually shown on the big screen again, actually, because Ger Manley said it after. Like that, I didn't agree with a lot of what Ger Manley said after, and I think he lost the run of himself completely, but he was totally right on that call. Like, that was a clear push.
That ball could have ended up in the net.
That's the danger. That is the danger. And at the end of the day, lads, there was only a point in it. The minimum margin separated both these sides. But I thought in general, it was a difficult game. I thought outside of that, and I echo your words. I thought Ger, and he'll reflect on it. Germany will reflect on it. I think he left himself just a small bit down with that interview. I think overall, I think the better team won. The more hungrier team, the hungrier team won. The team who wanted it more won the match. One rule that really does incense me in Camogie, it drives me up the wall. And again, if they want to be on par with the men's game, is this rule where there's a girl coming forward, there's a girl standing up, and girls are selling this all day long. They're being schooled, they're being coached. The other girl, the girl that's coming with the ball has nowhere to go. The girl is standing up. She's coming into contact, and the girl is going back, hitting the deck, and it's a free then to the girl that hits it. And girls, a couple of Cork girls.
Which girl the one attacking or the one defending?
The one defending. She knows who she is. She's done it twice. She's very, very good at doing it now. She's very good. And even at club level, I see it here. They're very, very...
Well, I was at a county final last year where at least, I'm not joking, that must have happened 6 times, and it was nearly all for the one team as well, and it's 100% been coached. They have to, and Cotton Murray came out strong on it. It's an absolutely ridiculous rule. They're like the essence.
You can get away with kind of you're screening them.
No, you're just kind of standing in their way, and it's foul. It's blown as charging. Whereas, there's nowhere for them to go. There is nowhere for them to go.
But the girl who's trying to stand them up, she can see what's coming. And then straight away, once there's contact made, it could be minimum contact, Ed. Yeah. And then the dramatics of hitting the deck, they're like our Lord going on to the cross, hitting the cross and hitting the deck. And next thing, all of a sudden, it's a free the other way. It drives me crazy. And that rule definitely has to be looked at. And for me, it has to go.
Yeah, it is definitely one thing. I think that's universally across the board. Like, it's just because they're like the women's game, they're at an unbelievable level, S&C wise now. That sort of idea of it being non-contact or anything like that has to go. It's a full contact game, and that's what. Listen, Justin Heffernan didn't get everything right the other day, far from it, but he definitely played his part in one of the most physical, absorbing games of Camogie that I've seen in a hell of a long time. And as you say, Mull, I do think the bar has been raised. So that's the final game in Croke Park for a while anyway. Oasis will take over this weekend, but we're looking back. Either are you going, actually, lads?
Bloody no, wish. I'm going. Price of the tickets. To be going.
I'm going on my holidays, but I made a bit of mistake, lads. I think the tickets were possibly easier to get over in Wembley. I think we made that mistake. I think the tickets were easier to get in Wembley. The fact that they'd even eight sold out days over in Wembley. I know an awful lot of people that flew over to Wembley, and they found it easier to source tickets for the Wembley gigs rather than the Croke Park gigs.
Well, a quick one. Tell us about one of the best concerts you were ever at. I think it might have been in Wembley.
Adele.
Oh, how good was that?
Adele.
Oh, amazing. Well, not ourselves as is in the mail, but Eddie, were you ever in a concert at Wembley?
No.
It's the Mecca. It's the Mecca, kid. It's the Mecca.
Cream of the crop, kid.
Cream of the creme de la creme.
I guess I thought Dermot Kennedy and Marley Park was rock and roll, huh?
And Eddie, you can sniff and laugh all you like about Adele. I'd be right there beside Mull, and I'd be probably bawling my eyes out.
I was at I done Slane back, I think 97, when Robbie Williams was supporting, and he was absolutely brilliant. And then I was in Slane again in 2001 when the Ireland soccer team bet Holland, and they arrived into Slane, and they were there afterwards. U2 were playing. I think Moby was playing. It was an unbelievable concert. I used to love Moby, and Then I think U2 in Croke Park, and then the last one was Westlife.
Yeah, I was there myself.
2012.
Moby, I remember Moby. Remember that Witness? Remember Witness? That festival Witness. Remember seeing Moby and Witness? But I tell you, lads, it'll take a lot to top Coldplay in Croke Park last year. Jeez.
Oh, I was at that one. Sorry.
That was just a topper now for me. You know?
We'll have to, with a kind of a dry August, with no like inter-county GAA, we'll have to, Mull, between you and Eddie, maybe.
Talking about concerts.
We'll do a column, Croke Park's greatest concerts or something like that.
Yeah.
But
with a picnic in 2 weeks' time when there's no club fixtures anywhere in Ireland.
It's gas, lads. I don't know if it was the end of Oxygen or the start of... or the end of Witness or the start of Oxygen, but they used to have like keep cups that you'd have your drink in up there, and Try was sober as a judge. You go around collecting these, drop them in. I think you used to get €2 for every one. This is before the bottle scheme, lads. You could make 100 quid, people just pegging away their cups or whatever, and I'd be sober as a judge there, flying around collecting, making a few quid for me weekend. But that's for another day, lads. Just looking back, we're going to pick out a couple of different topics looking back on the hurling year. I'm going to start with game of the year, lads. Mull, where are you looking when you're thinking of the game of the hurling year? Some people would say that this was not as good a year as others, and maybe there's not as many contenders, but I still think there's a good handful of games to pick from.
The one that stands out really is the Munster final, isn't it? Like, you know, from when the ball was thrown in at 6 o'clock to, you know, nearly half 8, 8:45 finish. I suppose the drama, the penalties, you know, the scenes near the end. The drone footage from RT I thought was class on the same day. I thought Tyler did a very, very good job, added to the occasion.
He paid a price for it though.
He did, and unfortunately, you know,
sadly, which was poor.
But I think his day is coming though. I think, to be fair to Liam Gordon,
as one of the good up and coming refs, who has a fierce, good understanding of the game and understands what players are going. I think we saw this before with the Munster final with John Keenan. Like, Tyler didn't even get a semi-final or final afterwards.
Yeah, but look, and to be fair though, Eddie, was it the following year then John Keenan got the final?
Yeah.
And to be fair to Liam Gordon, I think he was due a final, and I think Liam Gordon, you know,
and he's good.
He had a really good final. But I think Tyler's day is going to come. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyler will get the final. And look, once you get one final, you're probably thinking he might get another one, because he still is a young referee. But you know, even going back to that Munster final, the drama, lads, the scores. I mean, Cork coming off of being well beaten, 3 weeks previous up in the Gaelic grounds. We didn't know what to expect. Everyone was tipping Limerick. We were just saying, Jesus, if Cork came within 4 or 5 points of Limerick, they'd be doing well. And then they come with a really good performance. The scores, both sides having opportunities near the end. And I think when John Kiley and his management team reflect on the whole season, albeit they got beaten by Dublin, they look back at those scores near the end. The Glan missed free. Dara Donovan had an opportunity. Peter Casey had an opportunity to push out the lead. They had opportunities to get over the line, and that would have given them the 4 week break. And then Dara Fitzgibbon stepping up to hit that free, or the 65 to bring it to penalties, and then with the drama of the penalties. I just thought it was overall. I just thought it was an epic game. Had everything. People will be giving out about the Munster final being played on a Saturday evening. I thought it was brilliant. I would be saying, Jesus, let's have more of that going forward. You'd welcome it with open arms every second year that you'd have a Munster final on a Saturday evening. And I just thought, overall, it was an incredible game.
Do you know what I thought added to the game? And I often refer to like snooker in this regard. It's great seeing all the big breaks, right? And all the, a century and another century or whatever. But I love when like players were making mistakes, and it just added to the drama of it. Like, they are actually fallible. Like, every shot they hit or every pass they try and make doesn't always come off. And I thought it added to it. Eddie, what game are you looking at for game of the year?
It's probably hard to look beyond that, because it had everything, and I felt, look, at the time, I felt, Jesus, after the efforts the players put in, it was an awful way to lose a Munster final, as to go out that way. But in terms of the occasion, what was at stake, I think the build-up added to it as well, because you had, a little bit of revenge was served on Cork in Limerick, albeit probably, I'd say if Kylie had his time back again, or the Limerick lads had their time back again. I'm not saying they just unloaded on Cork because they had beef with Cork from the year before, but it just built nicely into it, because everyone was like going, well, we know what Limerick are going to bring to the party. It's what are Cork going to bring. And then there were short 1 or 2 players as well going into that. Rob Downey was still on the bench, and I thought he made a difference when he came in. But with where the game went from a neutral perspective and a spectator's point of view, that had everything. And I think even the mistakes as much as anything else, because they draw a reaction from the crowd.
Yeah.
That's up there with anything a big score is. And I think, to see both squads go deep into their panels, bring on subs, and then there was the added thing of the penalties at the end to really put the tin cap on it. But I suppose I was sitting at home, at a communion here home watching it, and you're just like, oh, Jesus, this is really, it was dragging on to a certain degree, but it was edge of your seat stuff. I'm not so sure, was there any other, I thought Clare and Tip played out a right good match below on Ennis, in the round robin. I thought that was a really good game.
I loved Dublin and Limerick, and a lot of it was to do with the shock value.
There, I would put the Dubs up as, the team, I think the win of the year. I think it would have to go up there just with everything considered there. It was incredible win. So we probably
I thought even
big games, but we got a lot of kind of intense matches as well.
The Tip Limerick game, lads, I covered the first day on the Munster final. I thought that was a brilliant game, and it really set the tone for what was to come, and it really set the tone for what was to come from a Lean Cattle and Mikey Bevan's coach side. And even I'll be straight up to you, I know you probably don't like hearing it, Verney, and look, geez, it can probably get under a lot of people's skins, but even to hear the echoes of tip being echoed around the stadium. I just thought, it was kind of, following on from where they were 12 months previous. It was great to see that, that being roared on again,
It's not a patch on Ufalia. It's not quite the same as that now, lads.
but I think, Mull, the point you're making is that when there's big supporter engagement, it creates even a better atmosphere. And if you're a player on the pitch and you hear your team, your supporters getting behind you, sure, it just gives another little pump up, and it adds to the whole the occasion.
Yeah. Boys, I'll go to the next one, and I'll ask you a general question first. The next category is goal of the year. But as two serial goal getters, Eddie, what sort of I tried to say this to lads even when you're coaching them, there is nothing like when a ball hits the top bin. It just looks unreal. But the one that hits the surface is so much harder to save. It's so difficult to save. Just thinking back to a lot of your goals, probably most of them went low, I'd say. Would that be, it doesn't probably look as good, but it's so much more effective, isn't it?
Yeah, sure. Look, I think you're ultimately shaped by the amount of them that you miss. And I found a lot of the times it depended on who you were against. I found some of the keepers were very good to spread themselves, that if you were bearing down in goal, I felt Cummins was brilliant to make himself so big and narrow that angle. If he closed the gap, then there's a good chance you're going to hit the body. So Fitzhenry was another lad that was good at that. But yeah, look, it's like that too. I think it doesn't matter what way they go in. Yeah, the top bin, the pass, and you turn and you swivel and you pick your spot and you can zip it in there. The top bin is deadly, or that you can, it's just an absolute flyer of a shot off the hurl, and you'll see the net bellowing more so. But I found, look, when you're in tight to the goal, you just had to be very cute about your finish. You had to be smart about it, because the goalies will generally make themselves big. So it can be trickier to beat them, and sometimes less was more. I found just to slip the ball or whatever it is. You
passed a lot of balls into the net, Eddie, would it be fair to say?
Yeah, there was a few, all right. Yeah, there was. And I just found, especially if you were coming hard in and you're taking a pass off somebody, it was all about the tidiness of the finish rather than the spectacular finish. And I put it this way, I'd rather roll them in and trickle them in than have that ball fly out wide off the post, like, or fly out missing, trying to get that top in. But yeah, look, we had a lot of them this year, and I think we saw, look, Cork, obviously, that was one of their big currencies this year, and I think they had, you know, the boys were in top form inside, and, you know, there was, I suppose, some of Connolly's one, but particularly the one against Dublin. I just thought, as a little team, collective thing, that the Hoggy touch to Brian Hayes, was it? And then Brian Hayes fired it across to Connolly, and is that the one where Connolly flicked it in?
Yeah.
One-handed. I just thought, like, just it's awareness around the goal. Like, I mean, there's loads of real good finishes. You know, you can say, you know, Horgan put away one or two, and Barrett put away a couple of nice ones. You know, even John McGrath's one against Kilkenny, much as it pains me, Jesus, he lifted the net out of it with that. And the ball was just, whatever way he struck it, it was flying upwards. And then even like Jason Ford's in a different sense, like just the composure, and then to get it right on the money, because so often that goes over the bar or that goes wide. But I just thought Connolly's one for me was probably the tidier one, because he just there was so, it was the team, it was the few little deft touches, and that's what I looked that I thought Horgan's pop pass created the opportunity. If Hoggy takes that in his hand and tries to hand pass it, it could be gone. And I just thought Connolly's awareness while he's holding off a fella who is defending him really well and tight, and he just gets one touch, and all is left to him is just that. And I think it's the presence of mind.
What do you reckon, Mull? No shortage of goals to choose from?
No, I mean, we can go goal of the season or the most important goal. I think the most important one lies with Oisin O'Donoghue's goal. I mean, go back to that, lads. I mean, the artists in getting a hook or a block in are the boys in the stripy jersey. All right, you think about it, Oisin O'Donoghue, he's in a swarm of bodies, swarm of Kilkenny players, and how he even managed to get a shot off, let alone get the connection on it to beat possibly one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, was an unbelievable goal. I would say that's probably the most important goal. I would look then at John McGrath's
overhead.
Overhead.
So many.
So good.
That was just ridiculous. But the one standout one for me, lads, and again, after watching kind of Tipperary or Mikey Bevins in full flow in some of their training sessions down when he was coaching Waterford down in the Setu Arena, the goal that John McGrath got, the goal where they came through the lines, they worked it from their half back line
Against Limerick.
Against Limerick. There must have been about 6 7 players
Jesus,
involved.
forgot about that one. What a goal!
And then John McGrath was on the end of it. That for me is my goal of the season. I just thought it was an unbelievable goal.
Savage goal.
Like, even when you look at that one, it was class because there was whatever 6 or 7 players involved. But to think that you could walk a goal through the heart of that Limerick defence like that and have the runners off the shoulder. But geez, yeah, look, I'm only getting the flashbacks now. Is there arguably anyone better? Like, the Cork lads banged in a couple of good goals. I like Connolly. I think he's a goal getter. But is there anyone better than John McGrath on form like that? You know, the brain is so engaged, and he's seeing things maybe that other lads don't see. And like in a game that's built now on athleticism and speed, John McGrath's hurling smarts is what gets him into those positions. And he's probably seen the finish before anyone else sees it. Yeah. And he's probably seen finishes that other lads don't see either.
And even the first goal in the All-Ireland final, when it comes back and you're just saying, pull on it. And he just kind of, it's stuck around his feet, and he's so cool to eventually get it in his hand. Another one I give a shout out to, John Heatherton's finish against Limerick. Outrageous. Yeah. He was nearly on the end.
That's arguably the most technically difficult goal to execute. And I said this at the time, I think we spoke about this to Joe. That is so hard to do. I would love to put 10 or 12 of our best stickmen and give them that ball in that scenario, and to see can they swivel around. I guarantee you, lads, a lot of them won't hit the target.
Yeah.
But as you're 100% right, Eddie. You could do that 10 times, and you might only get pull off one of them. And it's probably
get the purchase and bring it around.
Again, we go back to it being such an important goal because Limerick were on the ascendancy. I think Limerick were going a point up. I think they did Adam English put them a point up on 51, 52 minutes. And then they got 2 quick fire goals. And I think that was the first of 2. I think Keane O'Sullivan got the second one. So, I think it was a massive goal.
The flip side is Gillan's the miss of the year or save of the year for Sean Brennan. I think we'll give Brennan the credit.
That'd be my save of the year. Actually, we'll go into that. That was definitely my save of the year because it was just and
again the circumstances and the time of it.
Yeah, Mull, I think you have a different save of the year, and it saved the GAA as well.
Which one is it?
Robert Doyle.
Yes. I mean, lads, it was a Nicky Quaid moment when you go back to the semi-final 2018 against Cork. Nicky Quaid doesn't get that flick in on Seamus Harnedy. They don't want to win the All-Ireland. And God knows,
9 up, wasn't it?
And they possibly might have pushed on and had the success they had. But that was definitely for me, I would say definitely the block of the year or the save of the year. Again, the importance of it, if that goes into the back of the net, if John Donnelly puts that in the back of the net, Kilkenny go a point up.
Or did they?
You're going to...
We'll get to that.
You're going to... A lot of tetchery water then, if that ball goes into the back of the net. But credit Robert Doyle, an unbelievable save on a goal line. And one, he won't appreciate that until 25 years' time, 30 years' time. You look back on that block and that save, and it effectively won Tipperary the All-Ireland.
Ned, controversy of the year.
No comment.
Well, that's kind of similar. That's kind of similar to what came from the GAA. To be fair, no comment.
Yeah, I thought they were very, very poor on this. I thought that the day itself merited like that. And again, look, we'll just get it out of the way and just put the black right. There's no one looking for anything to take out away from anyone here. The All-Ireland Lee McCarthy is in tip and they were the best team. But I think anywhere else, I also think, I make no bones about it, I think if there's a lot of other teams involved here, there would be absolutely doors knocked in on top of some of the officials on the day. I think the Kilkenny maybe management team or county board, I thought were very, very restrained on the day. I think they arguably, I suppose there was the whole shock factor of the occasion. Maybe a lot of people were like, oh Jesus. Whereas I think it's mental though that not one of the 4 officials or linesmen or umpires, not one of the backroom team involved some way with Kilkenny. Like it seemed to wash over and off. A lot of people bar, like again, a lot of us at the time, you said it even, you knew straight away, and I could see it at the match. I was like going, because the young lad turned and said it to me, he said, that wasn't, we're not going, but they're after putting it up. So a lot of us were kind of so enthralled with the small window of time that was left at the match. But I do think that, the outline of, we'll take learnings from this falls well short of it. Like, and you're just going, Kilkenny suffered this and suffered in a very honourable way, as Liam Cahill described it. I'm not so sure many other people would have taken it as honourably in the circumstances. But you kind of go, okay, but what do you get for that? Like you say, ultimately, the season went up in smoke. Potentially, okay, it was a different game. But I suppose the one thing that I'm really curious about is that the referee of the match engaged openly with people afterwards about the score. And I'd love to know is what was written down in his notebook. Because he has to trust himself more than anyone on the whole place to keep a record of the score of the match. And at the end of the game, what did he say at the end of that?
Well, it had to have been 4-21 to 30 points, Eddie, because there
couldn't have been any other score.
Because the referees,
even afterwards,
just quickly there, the referees contact, they put the score in, and then it's official. If that makes sense, it's the same same within counties.
Again, we were hearing afterwards that it was kind of affirmed, and James Owen seemed to openly engage with that and say to a number of sources that the score was whatever's on the website. But I'm just wondering, like, when they gathered on the pitch, it was very obvious there was something up. Eamon Furlong and a few of the other lads that were there, you could see them, I think Micheál Kennedy and a few of them, and they knew there was an issue. And I was just wondering, I said, at what point did James Owens take out his own notebook and just tot it up and double check it and go, oh yeah. And like at that stage, it's the time is when it happens. But it's arguably the big controversy. Along with, to be fair, I think it's fair to say the skirt issue is right up there as one of the big issues of the year as well. And I think it was good to see a very simple thing like surely to Jesus, just a little bit of choice. Like it seemed a no-brainer.
Just a gas one, Eddie, you were saying there about the Kilkenny reaction to it. I remember we played with Burr. We were going for 5 in a row. I think we were beaten in a semi-final. The free count was absolutely off the charts against us. Now, I mean to say off the charts. If you blew on someone, it was a free, and we were beaten in the wind-up. And a few things might have been said to the referee, but it was harmless enough. And I remember thinking, and people saying to me, geez, if there was other clubs involved here, there could have been absolutely holy war. And potentially that's the same. I think all people wanted was a bit of clarity. The other thing I can't get my head around, considering the amount of added personnel in backroom teams, how did somebody not get it down to either Liam Cattle's ear or Derek Ling's ear or somebody's ear? That's something here we have to look at within 30 seconds of it happening. That was bizarre. I will give a very, very honourable mention to the goal that wasn't a goal between Dublin and Wexford. Like that ball never crossed the line, and that was bad. Now, like if you look at what Dublin went on to achieve, I'm not saying Wexford would have won the game, but they might have had.
There was 3 points up at the time.
Yeah, Mull, that was a crazy one up in Parnell.
Yeah,
and Keith Roster was quite restrained with that.
He was, and it's such a difficult thing to be like. But that was a mad one, Mull.
Yeah, and look. Was that the one where the umpires, one umpire, the umpire didn't.
He put up the flag.
He put up the flag. No, was it the referee came in and overruled?
No, the referee came in and said it was a goal, basically. Yeah,
the referee overruled the umpire, which made him more baffling. And I suppose, as Eddie just touched on, credit Keith Rossler. He could have went. I think going forward, we kind of need to kind of cut out all this kind of these kind of silly stuff like going forward. Like, I mean, particularly when it might just take a couple of seconds, stall the ball and say, right, have a little breather, have a little think about it. If it takes an extra 20 seconds, 30 seconds, and it goes back to lads, having to maybe use the TV monitor. If we have to use the TV monitor going forward, I think it would, if we have to use it has to come into play,
Yeah, no, it has to. I think we see it sometimes with clubs, and that's grand. And this is the biggest thing with the GAA. What's being implemented at elite level is very difficult to filter down to the club level because you don't have the level of support there around it. But for me, and I spoke about this, and I'm repeating myself. There is the Galway Minors in 2014, or the Limerick Minors in 2014. I was there right behind myself and Liam Sheedy looking at it. 14. This was the following year.
Right.
The against the Galway Minors, and it went a foot inside the post, and that's their season done. Austin Gleeson and the Limerick tip one below in Limerick.
Goal,
Eric was involved. The goal that never was. There's a few more that just don't. And I just think, why not have somebody? And it's very simple. And this ties on to another point I'm going to make here now is the communication between the officials. Like, this is something that really irks me, is because you sometimes see a linesman and they can see something. Oh, I can't call that. But
Ned, I had it at the weekend in a match. I had it the weekend. There was a line ball being taken. The man that received the ball was standing 5 yards from, and I said, you have to be 13. The ball doesn't have to travel 13, but the man has to be 13. And the linesman says, I know that. And I said, and you're going to say it to anybody?
Yeah, no, this is one thing. Like, I'd love to see a kind of, and again, I heard Barry Kelly talking about this, saying the referee has to trust. Yeah, that's grand. I get that bit. He's the man in the middle. He's the number one guy. But I think so many times we've constantly come back to this and said, why aren't they getting more support? Why aren't they getting things? And again, that's their job. It's to have them around the field. And I think quickly enough, like, if they can help out, but to finish the point, I hate to see a team and their season get washed down the drain because of something that could be avoided, because of supports for everybody. I think nobody will complain if they had to stop that match and turned around. And maybe Kilkenny wouldn't have won it. But to be able to just correct it and have it right, it's an absolute no-brainer. And I can't see why there can't be somebody in hierarchy or someone there that if they spot that can be fed straight down to the line and say, listen, communicate with the ref. He needs to stop the match. We need to fix this. Do you remember a few years ago, there was an episode, Brian Hogan stopped the ball going over the bar against Wexford. He brought it down again for Tipperary in 2019 semi-final. Yeah. And there was so much happening. He brought the ball, the ball came out the field, right? One of them was, I think Noel McGrath or someone underneath the Hogan stand gets a clothesline, right? A proper clothesline, maybe off Kevin Foley, right? So that's a kind of potential yellow, red card tackle. The ball goes up the field and it ends up in the Wexford net. John McGrath possibly got a goal, I think.
That's right, yeah.
We're able to bring it all the way back and say that the ball was over the bar when Brian Hogan brought it down or whatever. And to me, that's good work because they got the call right.
I'd still have doubts about whether that is the right call now. I genuinely would. I genuinely would now. But I understand where you're coming from.
The point being, John, I think I see no reason why are we talking about this crap when it can be avoided and teams their season doesn't get flushed down the drain. Wexford's potentially, you know what I mean, this year.
Yeah.
And Kilkenny's as well, if you want to just say that that's the reality. No matter who the team are, I think you hate to see a team losing on a call that's clearly wrong.
Yeah. We've two left, lads. Mull, I'll throw it to you first. Flop of the year.
So look, there's only really kind of one that stands out, really. It's kind of clear, isn't it? You know, considering, you know, where they were 12 months ago, league winners, All-Ireland winners, you know, on the crest of a wave, you're thinking, Jesus, they're going to be in a fantastic position to maybe push on and do a back-to-back. Had a relatively poor league campaign. You know, we're decimated with injuries going into the Munster campaign. And
does that make it as much of a flop? And the fact that they even beat Limerick in their last game as well?
It kind of does, Michael, because, you know, at the end of the day, they were all Ireland winners, you know, and I'd say there's high standards within that Clare setup. I'd say there's most definitely high standards set from Brian Lohan's point of view. And I'd say when they reflect on the year, I'd say they will be disappointed that, you know, they probably didn't get to the pitch enough this year of where they were 12 months previous. And that's why, for me, I think they'll be a dangerous animal coming into 2026, you know.
So they'll have most of the crew still on board, even though I know John Conlon suffered a nasty injury on club duty there recently enough. I wish him good health and I hope he's back in action fairly soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The other one I throw at you, Ned, as regards flop of the year, the second half of the All-Ireland final has to be right up there with one of the greatest flops of all time.
Yeah, and sadly for Cork, I think this one is going to end up being a case study in sports psychology, because such was the drama and I suppose to get a shot in the arm going in at half time and get the injection of a goal in a match that you were struggling to kind of get going in would have been seen as kind of a nice way to wrap up the first half, you know, to go into the dressing room, say, right, lads, you're playing absolutely crap. You know, really, they're not, you know, they're stifling us, and I think we're 6 points up. It should have been elation time. It should have been the moments where they'd be coming out and saying, lads, the first 5-6 minutes here, we have an opportunity to possibly steamroll these lads. If you come out of blocks in the second half and you go hard do you know what I mean? But who knows? We don't know what. There's lots of rumours about.
Still nothing concrete for next year either, lads, about management teams or anything yet.
Yeah, and I think what probably will feed into that a tiny bit is that if Pat Ryan is at the start of year, or is that year 2 or year 1, I think there's no issue with that. But I suppose for Pat himself, like, he's after doing an awful lot of work between Cork 20s and different things over the last few years. It's been a tough year for him, and he has still, you know, brought home arguably one of the most successful years the Cork have had in terms of trophies in a long, long time, to bring home the league and the Munster. And get to an All-Ireland final again. But unfortunately, it's not going to take from the super performance that Tipperary rolled out in the second half of the All-Ireland final. But it has to be said that it was 6 like the fact that Cork just fell asunder completely seems to have, allowed that Tipperary weren't met with a challenge. They took it over and they played what was in front of them, and there was an opportunity for them to do some champagne hurling, and they did, as Tipperary are more than capable of doing, no matter what's going on. But it'll go down as like it's just such a systems failure that, and again the question is, there's a lot of things, and it's easy for us to talk about this now, but it does ask questions about saying, right, where were the leaders in all of this? Where was, like, sometimes it's like Roy Keane, the famous thing, I just clatter into someone, just it might make me feel better. Like, there wasn't even a blow in anger in that match. Like, and sometimes there needs to be that. Like, but the match was generally, when you look back, and I've watched it twice since, like, from an engagement point of view and an energy point of view, it was played on Tipperary's terms, really from get-go. And when you do that, you give yourself an almighty chance on the biggest day of all. I think you can say that sometimes you play cagey in All-Ireland semi-finals, but in an All-Ireland final, you have to go for it. You have to go for it, and you have to, it's all out. It's handbrake off, pin the ears back and go for it, because don't die wondering anyway, like, because you get 70 minutes, 73 minutes to make it count.
Will they recover from it, lads? Will they recover from the scars, or will it take time? Or
I don't know. It's going to take a fair post-mortem and a fair bloodletting to get that out of the system. And it's such a long attritional road back to the third Sunday in July. Like, you're facing back into Munster. I mean, that's like the first Americans that landed in Vietnam. Like, do you know, it's that scale. Like, you're going, Jesus Christ, we don't know. Like you said, Muller, Limerick are going to be chomping, they're going to be refreshed. Clare are going to be absolutely leaping out of their skin. And you're probably going to see Waterford now under Peter Queally another year smarter and another year more, further down the road. So Munster being Munster, I think that's the big obstacle for them. If they were potentially in a situation where they can get through a Leinster campaign and then be ready for a Tiltad, it's a slightly different animal.
Just one county that we haven't mentioned, and they deserve a big hat tip, is Kildare, who had an unbelievable year after being beaten by Kerry in the first round of the McDonagh, having never won a McDonagh game, to then go on and win, 5 games in a row after that and win the McDonagh. And Brian Dowling is confirmed for next year, so he'll have a lovely tasty little game against Kilkenny in the Leinster Championship next year, which will be fascinating.
He would have been up there with Manager of the Year with Liam Cattle, like, you really break it down. And I suppose the one we should mention, that display of the year, like, I'll throw one out there, Cathal Mannion's display against Wexford, Lee Chin's display against was it Dublin or Dublin? He was very good against Kilkenny. Stephen Bennett gave some unbelievable display against Clare. John McGrath, after having some standout displays as well. And I suppose Jake Morris has been, he was unbelievable in some of the matches as well. So
hey, we just jumped to it, Muller, after mentioning a couple of players there. To put a bow on it, who's your hurler of the year?
I'm going to go, but I think it's I think the lads have it spot on. I think it's going to be one of three Tipperary players. It's going to come down to Ronan Maher, Jake Morris, or John McGrath. And we haven't had a defender hurler of the year since Tommy Welch in 2009. And I just think, for what Ronan Maher done this year, the players that he had to try and negate this year, try and put out fires, for me, I would have Ronan Maher as hurler of the year.
And Ned?
It's hard to disagree, because I would have felt coming into the All-Ireland, I thought, for me, it was Jake. I thought he's been so consistent for them without ever being spectacular. Even the night in Clare, like, he was picking off a couple of really important points. And I think it's not what he was getting, it was when he was getting them was really the thing, was when Tip were under pressure. And I thought in the second half of the All-Ireland, he was central to Tip cutting loose. I thought he seemed to be give them the oxygen. But I think, to be fair to, and again, I know from Ronan Maher that, when you get a bit older, right, the body isn't as maybe as good as it once was. And going from match to match, that's tough going at this level, like the level that current intercounty forwards and players are zooming around the field, like, and to think that someone, he's there a while. I think I would be leaning back towards Ronan Maher, much and all, as I'm very much in the forwards union. And
what's going on here, boys? What is going on here?
Like John McGrath, arguably the both of them probably passed out Jake, maybe because Jake was just so steady in the All Ireland without being spectacular. But unfortunately, we've seen it in the past, lads. Sometimes those two games have carried the biggest weight of all, like, and if you can excel there, it's the one that gets the most notice. Like, I mean, I remember going back 2013, Tony Kelly was the second joint favourite going into the replayed All Ireland, and then big match, and he just swipes it off Horgan, I think, in 2013. But like, yeah, I would. I just marginally, I think Ronan Maher, because probably in the biggest game of all, if you're turning around and say the American won MVP, well, he took out one of the big pillars of the Cork attack.
Yeah, this is totally ripping up the script completely. 2 ace forwards going for a defender and an old lowly miserable cornerback going for a corner full forward. I think John McGrath, boys, just for the big moments, if you went through the moments of the year, and we kind of went through some of them already, like Mull mentioned, the one of the goals against Limerick. There was the other goal against Limerick as well. There was the goals down in Clare that night when their season was on the line. There's even the goal at the start of the Kilkenny game when they're totally out of the game. There's obviously a couple of good other plays against Kilkenny. There's the 2 goals. He didn't score in the first half of the All-Ireland final, and then he unleashes some unbelievable scores in the second half of the All-Ireland final. I just think for all those big moments, and as well as that, like, it's gas. He played very little league. He was saying in an interview recently, he played very little league, but he was obviously starting to hum come championship, and Cattle said, we need to get this lad in. And for a lad who, let's call a spade, there was rumours going around in the winter time that he'd been culled from the tip panel because there was other lads of similar vintage and maybe a little bit out of form also culled. And I think it's probably, it's a close call. I would have had Jake probably before the semi-final and probably just about before the final. But I think McGrath and Maher have probably usurped him, and I think John McGrath will get it just for the body of really, really big moments. But it's gas. Imagine you'd said coming in before the All-Ireland final that to be no Cork representative nominated for Hurler of the Year, he probably would have been laughed out of place. But that's how much a half of hurling can change things.
And here's the one. I think Noel McGrath will be nominated for an All-Star, regardless of his, he probably a sub coming off. I know you're on the you're on the judging the committee there, Verney, for All-Stars, but for me, I think Noel McGrath will be close to be nominated when it comes down to who will be nominated from Tipperary. Usually Tipperary, the All-Ireland winners get about 12 or 13 or to go into double figures, but I definitely think Noel McGrath could be, if I was picking nominations, Noel McGrath would definitely be in the nomination form for me,
It'll be interesting because if 13 are picked of the team, there's always... the 2 left out are completely hard done by, regardless of even how they played, because somebody's been left out. If McGrath is included as an All-Star nomination and some starting players are left off, there'll be war. But probably, we're probably gone to the stage where there should be like nearly a 16th man type job, because that's the role that certain players have now, and they're as important, if not more important, than some players that are starting now. And that's the way the game has gone, But boys, it was great to get the 2 of you back together. We won't leave it as long. We won't leave it till next February or anything. We'll have to meet up for breakfast or something somewhere, have an old chinwag, and plan out who we think is going to win the All Ireland next year over the coming months. But great to have the 2 of you on board, lads, and I know you're going to be kept busy during the club season, as I will myself as well. So we'll talk soon, men. Thanks a mil.
Look, all right, lads.